Hey everybody, Sean Rosensteel here, host of Author-ized. I'm excited to have with me today Miranda Jo Davis, author of Christian Girl and the Yoga World. Welcome to the show today, Miranda Jo.
Thank you, Sean. I'm so excited to be here and have a chat with you.
Yeah, me too. So we're both down here in Texas.
Yes, we are. Howdy, everybody. How y'all
Howdy,
doing?
y'all. I tried to say y'all a few weeks ago. I just moved here from Chicago, as you know. Totally didn't work, so I'm not going to go there again, but I botched it up. I paused halfway through. I'm like, hey, you all, and people totally saw right through it. So,
it's a practice. It's like you're learning Spanish or something, you're learning Texan. So,
It's a lot different. Yeah, I've got a ways to go. But anyways, well, thanks for being on the show with us here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so I'm so interested in this book, Christian Girl in the Yoga World. So tell us how this came to be.
Oh gosh, well, it's a long story. How long do we have? But I'll keep it really brief. This story came to be over my 20 years as an expert in the industry, as a yoga master trainer. I came into practicing yoga into Christianity at the same time when I was in my early 20s, and loved both of them, fell in love with Jesus and fell in love with yoga. My background's in dance, and so it was just a natural form of movement for me. And I knew right off the bat, I'm going to go all the way with this. And so here I was a few years later, and I was making my way up the ranks in the yoga world, and was assigned to become an international trainer not too long after that, and took my levels of certification to the highest that you can do, which was so exciting. I lived a wonderful jet set life, got to travel to many countries, went around the world, met interesting people. But as my knowledge of yoga escalated, and then my knowledge of Christianity did, I found out there was actually a collision in the world. And so hence the title, Christian Girl in the Yoga World. And so that's really what sparked the desire to write the book, is that I want to let Christians know there's a perception that it's either evil and we can't do it, and it's not okay with our religion, or there's a perception that I'm a Christian and I'm just going to ignore all the cues and the roots that are tied to Buddhist and Hindu religion, and I'm just going to do it anyway. So I'm wanting us to find a happy medium where we can practice yoga and not compromise our faith.
That's fascinating. So tell us a little bit about how you worked your way through that conflict, and then where you are today with everything. And I'm assuming that's what a lot of the book is about.
It is. A lot of the book is about each chapter starts off with something that I struggled with in the yoga world, and how I felt conflict as a Christian. And so how did I work through that? I prayed, I read my Bible, I just continued to dive into my faith, and did find out there were some things that I shouldn't be participating in. And so where I am today is that I believe that the mental and physical practice of yoga is beneficial for everyone. This is something I want to do until I take my last breath. It makes my body feel young and alive and vibrant. I'm in my mid 40s. I won't give you my exact age because a lady doesn't ever do that. But just to say that, I feel and can move as well as someone in their 20s. And so I believe in that part of the practice, but I just wanted to start to incorporate my faith. And so now I use scripture, and that feels very comfortable. It feels very compatible with the way that I choose to live. And, it's been awesome, Sean, because I have a lot of non-practicing Christians who come to my classes as well. So it's an opportunity for me to minister from the mat.
That's awesome. So you actually have a physical practice, and that is where is that, in Fort Worth?
It's in Fort Worth, Texas. Come and see me.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So when was the book published, and how has it done? And I can't remember, were you self-published or did you use a publisher?
I am self-published, and it's been an amazing journey. I love that I self-published. I published in May of this year, in 2020, and so we're just not even 6 months out now and the book is doing really well. Part of why it's doing well is because I prepared myself for the business end of what writing a book. What does that look like, and what does it entail? Doing things like I'm doing now, talking about it, being on podcasts, really putting myself out there. But I love doing that. I'm a talker. And so, and I love to let people know about some things that I'm passionate about, which is yoga and Christianity.
Awesome. So you have a family, you're running a yoga practice. You wrote and published a book this year, published in May. How are you doing everything? And you're strong in your faith. How are you finding balance in it all?
Yeah. How am I keeping the plate spinning?
Yeah.
It's one day at a time. That's kind of how I approach life. It is putting my faith in God first. I don't feel like that I would be anywhere where I am today, continuing to climb and to see success in my life without God. So that's an important part, but my family is highly supportive. I have a great husband who is, I tell him these ideas I have, when I tell him I'm going to write a book, he's never been like, "You're going to do what?" He's like, "Oh, that's awesome, baby. You go for it. You write that book." So, and my kids, they just think it's, this is just what mommy does. And so, I think a supportive community really helps with that. And, it was the right time. Even during COVID, I knew that I wasn't going to shy away from publishing the book. So here I am.
That's awesome. Yeah, good for you. And with your children, are you virtual? Are they back in school? Where's all of that?
My kiddos are back in school.
Are they?
So, yes. I can do a lot of things really well, Sean. Homeschooling is not my thing. We're just like, oh yeah, let's do that lesson. Okay, we'll do it in a little bit. Let's just hang out or let's go to the park. I mean, I am just not cut out for that, and that's okay.
So you mentioned, I think you actually mentioned in a previous chat that we had a TV appearance or two, and I know that you're doing a lot of podcasts. So can you share with us some of the things you're doing to get visibility and exposure to the book?
Absolutely. Over the years, I have developed, I think it's really important to develop relationships with people who, are in different industries. And so I have developed a relationship with a local broadcasting community here. Good Morning Texas, GMT, Channel 8, Paige McCoy Smith. If you're out there, hello, honey. So yes, she has interviewed me several times over the years, and I had a lot of ideas around COVID. Some of them like, how to break the monotony of the everyday by doing yoga with your kids. And so my kids and I were on TV and we did, a lot of different poses and breath work and just making it playful and fun so that, when we were quarantined, it didn't seem like, it was all day, every day that's monotony. Yoga can be fun too.
Cool. So can you explain to someone like me who doesn't have, I've done yoga a handful of times, dabbled is probably not even accurate, less than dabbled, but it is something I would love to get into. A lot of the mentors I have in my life, do yoga daily. I got into meditation a few years ago, and that has served me very well. So eventually I would like to have a regular yoga practice. Can you share with someone like me, who's a very, like a novice, some of the benefits, some of the physical, mental, emotional benefits of yoga?
Oh, I love people like you, Sean. Oh, you're my favorite. So what it is it's just a practice. And like genres of music, there's many different styles of yoga. Mm-hmm. And so I encourage people to, maybe they think, oh, I want to lose weight. I'm going to go to this hot yoga. Or I'm going to go to power yoga. And then they go and they're like, I hated that. That was not for me. Well, just try a different style. You can try gentle yoga, yin yoga, restorative yoga, power yoga, yoga that's just at your gym, that's more of a workout style. So I just encourage people to kind of know what they may already be called to do. Are you wanting yoga for healing? Are you wanting yoga to maybe sleep better? And then look specifically for that and go and give the studio a try, give the instructor a try. And again, it's kind of like, you're dating this person. You're going to check them out and see how you mesh personality wise. It's such a big facet of our world today. The yoga, 36 million people are practicing yoga today. So they're obviously looking for something. Just keep looking and finding the practice and the person that aligns with you.
Yeah. And I think what you said is so important, and I would call that the relevancy factor. But for me, so a lot of people ask me about meditation, and there's 7 different primary paths you can take, and there's all sorts of different styles and disciplines of it. It's like, I don't know, what is it that you're looking for? Mm-hmm. So I like what you just said about connecting your yoga practice to what you're looking for in your life, what's relevant for you, mm-hmm. and based on if you're looking to improve this area of your life, that area of your life, there's maybe different paths that make more sense to try out.
Yes, exactly. Just give it a try. Keep an open mind, and you will find the path that's right for you. I believe that if every person could practice yoga for the mental and the physical benefits, we would, as a society, as a whole, we would be in such better shape mentally and physically.
Yeah. I don't doubt that. I feel the same way about meditation, and they're very closely related, at least in my limited view.
Absolutely. Yoga is moving meditation. And, the first time I was exposed to anything meditative was at my first yoga class, when I discovered that I had a very real problem with slowing down the thoughts in my mind. But because I was type A, back then I was a dancer. And so I was like, I'm going to get this stuff. I'm going back to that yoga class. I'm going to lay on that mat and be still. And so it didn't work out very well for me. Like you, it's become, and in the Christian faith, we ascribe to keeping our mind on whatever's true, noble, excellent, praiseworthy. That's meditation to me today. And so I really has a lot to do with my thought process.
Yeah. So as it relates to your Christian faith, what was it sounds like there might be many conflicts at different levels, but when you think back to your journey through this, what was the biggest conflict you had? And then how did you think through it and make the connections so that it was okay, or this actually works and it works well, and I should be okay with all of this. And now I want to teach this. So what was like the biggest issue that you ran across, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, the biggest issue was it was very hard for me. I was studying the craft in India with some colleagues who I work with in this global company. And at one point during the practice, our instructor, who he was very knowledgeable, but I went into this very naively thinking that it would be like yoga over in the United States, the yoga that I've been practicing. But when I got to India, there started to be no separation between another religion and the religion that I ascribe to. And so at one point, we were chanting in another language things that were honoring other gods. And so, and part of in my faith is there shall be no other gods before me. And so I just said I couldn't do that. And that's when it kind of blew up for me. So I didn't participate, and things kind of turned for me. I still had about 2 weeks left in the trip, and it was just one struggle after the other. Definitely felt God's presence with me, saying that, this is part of it. If you're going to stand up in your faith, there's going to be trouble. There's going to be hardship for you. So it was a defining line of if I was going to go one way, or if I was going to actually do what I felt like the Bible says to do.
That's amazing. And I give you so much credit for proceeding forward and finding your way, because I think for a lot of people, they would see that issue, that conflict, and then they would just kind of make a generalization about yoga as a practice and say, nope, it's not compatible.
Yes, I agree. And I know this is amazing. Since I have published the book, I've had countless people write me emails or send me messages in social media saying, I'm so glad that you published this book, because you have articulated things that have happened to me, or you are speaking things that I've been worried about. So
how did you get in my head?
How did you get into my head? Those pain points that we learn to really hone in on as an author and as a writer. So yes, this is for a very specific group of people that I'm speaking to.
That's awesome. Okay. So let's go back to your yoga. What do you call it? Is it a studio? Is it a practice?
It is a studio, yes.
Okay.
So it's a studio right now that is not functioning like it normally does due to COVID. And we're doing a lot of outdoor classes, which if you're not in Dallas-Fort Worth today, it's a cloudy and rainy day. So class was canceled. So I'm just making the best of whatever's in front of me with what I can do now. I've had the studio for 11 years now. So I have a very loyal following. I love all of you out there. Thank you to my students who have helped me through many, many years and have made this very successful. I'm truly grateful. It's been a wonderful journey.
First of all, congratulations on 11 years.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, good for you. So yeah, it's amazing like how much your business, all of it is impacted because you wrote a book and you're doing the virtual thing, but you also have a studio, a physical location. So kudos for enduring all of those, challenges this year. So you've evolved a bit. You're doing classes outside, which is really cool. It's like Bikram style, and you don't even need to turn the heat up.
Yes. Here in Texas, we have a natural heater, which is the sun, and we can really do hot yoga. That I can attest.
Yeah. And if you can really get into it, you can just ignore the mosquitoes and pretend like they're not even there, right?
I use all organic pest control to help take care of the mosquitoes. So that's one of my selling points.
So we are all about that in my family. So we moved from Chicago a few months ago, and I swear, Miranda Jo tried every single organic bug spray on the planet. Like the last thing, going to DEET was like the last thing we want to do. We have 3 kids, 6, 4, and 2. It was just not an option until we got bit incessantly for over 2 months. We're like, all right, get the DEET, slap the DEET in them, just slap it on. So we're now at like 15% DEET. That seems to be a little more effective.
Oh,
But we're all like, how some people they completely repel bugs. And like my whole family just attracts mosquitoes. None of us are, safe.
that's hilarious. It's like my husband, I'll have the organic and then there's the DEET, and he's like, don't give me that stuff. Give me the DEET. So I get it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I'm curious, because we are evolving our business models by necessity right now. So you've gone from inside to outside. Have you ever considered doing like a virtual type of a platform?
Yes, I am doing classes virtually right now. You can find me on YouTube for those at Miranda Jo Davis. And so you can get some free classes there. I'm also just doing Zoom with my regular students. But yes, it definitely is. That's been a whole learning curve. I'm telling you, I have never learned so much in this short amount of time, technology-wise, which is a good thing. But having to adapt my business, yes, it's been essential.
That's amazing. So how do the virtual classes work? Do you still do a monthly and then you're allowed a certain amount of classes per week or per month? I mean, what does that look like from the business model perspective?
Yeah, from the business model, the way I've always set up my classes is by a semester. And so, I want people, I'm about commitment. I'm old school. We're not going to come take a couple of classes and then not show up for a few weeks. You're going to be in if you're coming in. So I do it by the semester, and they just pay me, and that's how it works through there. So COVID has been little shorter sessions, just because I'm still adapting. I'm not sure when I'm going to open the doors to the studio yet. Just basically because it's not a huge space. And so, safe distancing, wearing masks, having all the equipment, all the things that go with that we're supposed to do to keep everybody safe. I'm just not there yet.
Now, has the state mandated that a studio like yours close, or is that more your personal preference?
This is my personal preference. Yes.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Interesting. So when you say a semester in your business, is that 6 months? Is it a quarter? What is a semester?
That would be like same as a college semester. So it would be, seasonally. I do a fall, I do a spring, I do a winter, I do a summer semester.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Got it. So roughly every 90 days or so.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. So the last time we caught up briefly before, I think this was last week as we were preparing for this conversation, I had mentioned how my kids were getting into yoga. And we talked about cosmic yoga and the gal from London who does that on YouTube. And I mentioned to you how she had a certification. And then you shared with me that you have some upcoming news and some certifications and all sorts of really neat things happening in your own business. So can you share with us some of those exciting, changes that are coming up?
Yes. And first of all, I love that your kids are doing yoga. You are setting them up for a long-term passion and success, for the mind, body, spirit. I do the same with my kids. I encourage everybody to do a little yoga with their kids if you can. And then on the business end, so writing the book, I'm having people email me saying, gosh, do you recommend this Christian yoga teacher training system, or do you recommend this? And so I'm sitting here and the wheels are spinning. I'm like, you're already traditionally trained, which is the same way I was trained with the traditional school of yoga. And so I'm thinking, and I start looking, there's nothing that is available for traditionally trained yoga instructors to just get the add-on of the Christian component and become certified that way. So I am launching Perfect Fit Christian Yoga Teacher Training. This will be, it'll be about a 12-week intensive, one-on-one coaching, group coaching, going through 7 modules, one every day of the week, basically certifying you at the end in my Christian style yoga, or God's Christian style of yoga, and what that would mean to be a certified teacher. And so it is just the perfect timing to do that. I feel like all the doors are opening. It's been so easy to write, and I'm ready to share it with people.
I love that. I just love the fact that, oftentimes for me, I'm very much into self-improvement, personal development. And sometimes I find that if I could take this thing over here in this area and plug in that strategy, so to speak, over into this area, neat things happen, because it's almost like oil and water. And I love the synergy, and it's interesting, but it's compatible in so many ways. I love how you're bringing that Christian side of things to yoga, which is otherwise a very different sort of a practice. So that's really neat. So someone looking to come through your 12-week intensive and get certified, is that someone who's already a yoga instructor? It's not like a beginner.
Ideally, yes. Because we are going to utilize what you've already learned in your traditional yoga teacher training. You've already learned how to teach the poses. You've already learned how to teach breathing. You already know how to format and sequence a class. Let's hold on to those things, and then let's add the Christian component. Do you know how to use prayer in class? Do you know how to do Christian meditation? Do you know how to implement scripture and the right ways, and how to pair it with the poses? These are things that I will teach you how to do. And that's something I had to teach myself how to do when I decided to open up. I didn't share, my yoga studio is a Christian yoga studio. And so when I started that 11, almost 12 years ago, I had to learn, I taught myself all that through the process. So I've already done all the work for you. And now I've got it in a really simple to follow format so that you can be successful too.
That's awesome. So when does enrollment open for that program?
That's a great question. I am currently getting everything ready to launch the program for January of 2021. So it's a new year, and it's a great time to start something new for those traditionally trained yoga instructors who are ready to take it to the next level.
That's awesome. So I'm curious, where are you finding those people are? Because I was under the impression that readership from your book were practitioners of yoga, people like me, or not me, but consumers that practice yoga that may be having some conflicts with their Christian faith and how that all applies. But it sounds like maybe there are some instructors of yoga that are picking up your book and tuning into your message.
Yes, and honestly, I was surprised that it's been quite a few instructors who are picking it up and reading it. So I'm finding them on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Miranda Jo Davis. I'm finding them on Facebook. I just decided to start my own yoga community on Facebook. It's called the Christian Yoga Community, and that's just started about a month ago, and we are having a very lively and engaging group, a lot of instructors again. So some of these instructors are already certified in a Christian style of teaching, and then other ones are like me, and they're just, or were like how I used to teach. And so they're just seeking, they're trying to figure out which avenues to take. And so that's where I'm coming in. I can help you at the crossroads and put you on the right path.
Very cool. So you've been doing this for a long time. You've traveled to some, pretty incredible locations, it sounds like. Where did your background or certification, do you have a certain style that you practice in your studio that you teach from?
I do love the style that I was trained in. It is a fitness style of yoga. It's a hatha, which hatha just means all forms or all physical practices of yoga. And it's a vinyasa, which means that the poses flow together. And I always have loved that because of my dance background. When I started taking those style of classes, I was like, this is like a very beautifully choreographed routine. And so I do bring that very creative element into my practice. I would say my classes are not run of the mill or cookie cutter from maybe a certain style of yoga does, but it's actually very creative, and there's a lot of freedom to play.
That's so cool. So yeah, I love how, as authors, if you're being coached or you're learning from somebody or you're being trained on how to write and market a book, so many, let's call them experts, say you have to identify your avatar or your ideal reader. Yours to me is so clear, which is such a blessing, right? Like it's so black and white. I love that. Was it always that way? I mean, did you always kind of know that you had that target in mind based on your own personal experience?
Oh my goodness, no. I mean, when I felt like I was being called to write a book, I mean, I was terrified. I had already started writing, doing the blogging thing, and I had joined some writing communities. But I'll just tell you the truth. Writing a book, I was like, no way, this is crazy, especially what I felt like God was putting on my heart to write about. These very personal stories that I've had over the years in yoga, which I obviously I'm very passionate about yoga, but telling those stories, I hadn't told those to anyone. And so, but as I did what I felt like I was supposed to do, I call it being spiritually obedient. I think that writing a book is a discipline. I think that, waking up at 4 a.m. and writing till 7 every day was it's transformative to me. And I did that. I did it just like I was supposed to. And I found, and little by little, mentors started to come saying, this is how you do it. Check out this program. Do you want to self-publish? I had no idea. I felt lost. But now it's like you said, it's crystal clear. And so I'm so glad that I'm so glad I didn't ignore the calling to write the book, because it's been an amazing journey. I love it.
That's awesome. It's awesome. So how long did that journey take? I know it published in May, but when did you actually start the writing process?
I started probably 14 months before.
Wow. Okay. And did you go through like did you go through like an outline process, or did you just literally start with a blank cursor and go?
Let me tell you something really cool. There was this girl that I met over 20 years ago. I told you at that time I was becoming a Christian, and I mean, everything about Christianity, I'm just going to say, I thought it was kind of weird. I didn't know. I was very skeptical about the Christian faith. I grew up in a home that, we had no religion. I mean, if you were smart enough, strong enough, you could do whatever you wanted to do. And I just, around my 20s, I just was seeking something. So when I found this first group of people that were Christians, there was a writer in the group. And God reminded me of that when I was struggling to write the book. He was like, reach out to her. She lives down on the coast of Texas. Reached out to her and she said, I want you to think of each chapter like a blog. So you're going to make an outline of what you think each chapter is going to be, and then write it like you would write a blog and have a very specific format. So for me, it was tell a story, identify those pain points, and then come into a scriptural and biblical solution, and then have people to apply it to their life. And I did that chapter after chapter, and it worked.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So you outlined it, planned it like that. I love that, having structure for each chapter. Just breaking it down and having a format to follow is obviously so helpful. And I like the, comparing it to a blog. That makes it less pressure.
For sure. Yes.
So, and you didn't have those blogs written before, right? Yeah. So that was just the way you were looking at it. So did you work with an editor? I
did. I had wonderful editors from huge publishing houses, Christian publishing houses. Again, I just feel so blessed to have so many connections. But another connection, there was a editor in my son's class who was connected to the whole editing world. And I had Max Lucado, someone who edits for huge authors, edited my book. And when I found, I didn't even know it was a big editor. After I found, I'm like, oh my goodness, this person read my book. It was just so intimidating, but she made it. She shaped it up and she made it, I get the feedback a lot that it was really well written. And I can want to thank my editors. I had 3 of them for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, I have a funny suspicion, not too distant into the future, someone's going to say, this editor worked with Miranda Jo Davis. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. I was on that, but we'll see.
So it went through editing, and then you self-published. So did you self-publish through like an Amazon sort of a thing? Did you go wider than that? What does that look like?
Yes. So I use Amazon, and I have published through Ingram Spark as well. This is the part now where I'm feeling kind of a little bit lost. I'm just going to be honest, is the aftermath. I use Self-Publishing School with Chandler Bolt, had a writing coach, which I do really well with coaches. If you're out there and you're looking to write a book, or you're needing some business on the back end of your book, I think coaches are awesome. So yes, that was very helpful. Now I'm just kind of in that place where I'm trying to figure out, what do you do now?
Yeah, as far as marketing it, continuing to sustain the message of it all.
Exactly.
So are you thinking, so you've got this book, which could potentially be for just the person who practices yoga or the instructor. Those are kind of two audience potentials. Yeah. Now you've got this new certification that you're rolling out. So are you looking to bridge the gap in any way between the book and the certification program?
Absolutely. Yes. So I definitely think that the book would be an important part of the certification program. And I'm actually in process of writing a second book. At the end of this book, I felt like always, which is, I heard from my writing coach, is kind of strange that this is going to be a nonfiction series. And he said that's kind of a new thing that's up and coming, is to do a series in nonfiction. So Christian Girl in the Yoga World, this is just the first of series 1. And then I'm writing right now is how to practice yoga and not compromise your faith. So it's awesome. The how-to. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, because I think this first book is a very nice, strong foundation, I would imagine. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's awesome. That's awesome. So you mentioned that you had some feedback from people who read your book. Do you have a call to action? Do you have tools that are accessible for readers? Like, how is that connection being made between someone buying it on Amazon? You don't get their contact information. Then all of a sudden you have their email, or they're on your list, or they're emailing you, giving you feedback. How is that connection made?
Yes. So I'm surprised when I go to my constant contact and there's new subscribers. So I'm like, okay, so I do have a lead magnet in my book, and it's from the new book that I'm writing, How to Practice Yoga and Not Compromise Your Faith. So it's a couple of excerpts from that book that if you go and sign up for my email list at mirandajodavis.com, then you would be receiving that as well. And so that's how I'm kind of starting to get to know everyone. And then I will be, I really need, I feel like with the emails and things like that, just getting a little stronger with my emails. I think we had this conversation, Sean, like, I don't want to bother people with my emails. And so if that's part of the business, then I need to definitely strengthen it.
It's hard because it's kind of like sales. Like, yeah. I don't like sales in general, but that's just because I've had some really bad experiences of being the prospect on a very hungry, pushy salesperson, right? Mm-hmm. I think we've all been on the receiving end of some of these very aggressive email marketing campaigns where it's like every 5 minutes we're just getting hit. So I think you have to kind of find your sweet spot and do what you're comfortable with. I've learned lately that there are people, and I'm guilty of this, but there are certain people who will only take action based on urgency and scarcity. It's like, as much as you want to just say, hey, it's here if you want it, and not bother again, you kind of have to say, look, there's a deadline. This won't be available, or this won't include these bonuses, or however you craft the offer or the program. That helps for certain people because many of us buy on emotion. Usually those are the people that are like right up front. Some of us buy on logic, which might happen a few days later. Then there's those people who take action on the urgency and scarcity. And that's like 11th hour, there's 1 minute left.
That's me.
Yeah, I can be that way too.
Right now, I've got to get that.
Well, I give you so much credit for evolving, and you're pivoting so quickly due to the COVID, and you're making everything happen and work. And in the process, just like I think so many parents and so many teachers and really so many businesses, you're learning all this new, hairy, scary technology, even though you don't want to. So I give you a lot of credit for that. That's incredible.
Thank you. I have had I have learned more in the last 6 months than I've learned since college, I would say, or maybe my yoga teacher training. It's been an incredible journey of learning all these wonderful things that we have at the tip of our fingers to utilize to build our business and build our brand. But, I am only one person. I recognize that too. And I always, I think it's important to say, just to acknowledge, my family comes first. I know my boys are 11 and 7, and they're only going to be little for so long. So, I really am a dedicated mother as well.
That's amazing. You've got quite a few full-time jobs over there.
Yes, I do. About which hat am I putting on today?
Right. Yeah, that's right. So if we wanted to buy your book, if we wanted to check out your studio, if we wanted to maybe look into enrolling in this upcoming, it sounds like an awesome 12-week intensive that you have. You mentioned your website earlier, MirandaJoDavis.com. Is that right?
That is it. Yes, it is. Everything is there. My book is on Amazon, Christian Girl in the Yoga World, MirandaJoDavis.com on Facebook, and on Miranda Jo Davis on Instagram. Same for YouTube. And I would love to connect with you on any of those social media outlets.
Awesome. So if you could leave our viewers and our listeners with one message today, it can be anything based on the last 35 minutes of conversation, what would that be?
God has a dream and desire that I feel like he's imparted in all of our hearts. And so listen to that desire, listen to those hopes, and listen to those dreams and pursue it. Because even if it's scary, even if it's hard, you have no idea the amount of joy, the freedom, the fun that you can find in life if you just go for it.
I love that. Well, Miranda Jo, congratulations, first of all, on all your success. And secondly, thank you so much for being here with us on the show today.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.